Welcome to Theory Thursday. What do we say? We say, yay for research! Yay! Okay, I am a peace builder and I am fascinated and enamored by research that speaks to the way we shift society, business, and self in order to drive a shift from ego system to ecosystem for the well being of the entire planet. I know this is lofty. However, I believe it's possible. And I believe it is happening more now than it ever has in the past. And I am grateful to be alive, to be a part of it. The work of Otto Scharmer has been a source of inspiration and admiration for me. Part of what Otto's work really focused on were the necessities of presence in a system to provide the conditions necessary for change and for the emergence of a new paradigm. One of the core interior dimensions that Otto's work speaks to is the quality of three instruments. The first is an open mind, the second is an open heart, and the third is open will. One of the things that I want to talk about today, listening, because listening is probably one of the most underrated human skills. And so I want to break this down in a way that might help you to evaluate where you're sitting from the perspective of listening. Let's first talk about open mind, open heart, open will. So, an open mind is the capacity to suspend old habits of thinking or judgment so that you can see with fresh eyes. An open heart is the capacity to empathize or even to engage in compassion in order to look at a situation through the eyes of somebody else. And then third, open will is the capacity really to let go of the old in order to allow something new to emerge. Listening is at the heart of examples of many human connection colossal failures. We tend not to be very good listeners unless we are focused on that. Shifting your mode of listening can literally be life-changing. It impacts how you experience relationships and how you experience the world. And the good news is, it is amazing how quickly a deeper level of awareness can actually shift your way of listening and attending to your life. The first step is to understand the four archetypes of listening. And I really like this framework from Otto Scharmer. So the four types of listening really reflect those underlying principles of the three instruments: the opening of mind, opening of heart, opening of will. Downloading, we're listening in a limited way, we're reconfirming what we already know, but nothing new penetrates our bubble. And this has become even more available in recent decades with the internet, because we can literally surround ourselves with only people who agree with our belief system. It used to be the case decades ago that everybody watched, for example, the same Late Show. And no matter where you were on a spectrum, you heard one message, then you contextualized it, but you had to build in variety of perspectives. Today, you don't have to do that. You can participate in one outlet that supports and reinforces the things that you think and believe, thereby really keeping you stuck in a space of downloading. And there is very little progress that can be made when we exist in that space. The second is factual listening. Factual listening is letting the data talk to us and we notice disconfirming information. So we see some compelling data, we hear some compelling messages, and we say, opening the mind and suspending that habit of judgment just a bit. Then we come to empathic listening. Empathic listening sees the situation through the eyes of another, where I can actually imagine what it feels like to experience something outside of my own lived experience. And we'll often hear, put yourself in someone else's shoes. This is a way to describe empathic listening. And then we have generative listening. And generative listening is where we are really listening for the greatest future possibility. We're completely open in our minds, we're completely open in our hearts, and we're open in our will. We have willingness to let something new emerge and reshape how we think and how we feel. So if we take a little bit of a deeper look, when we're listening only on that first level, that level of downloading, we're not really focused on what the other person is saying very much at all. We're actually focused on our own inner commentary. This is something that happens when, do you ever talk to someone and it's just clear to you they're not really listening, they're just waiting for the opportunity to say their next thought? This is an example of downloading. When you cross that threshold from downloading to factual listening, so we could think of this as like level 1 to level 2 listening, your attention moves from listening to your inner voice to actually listening to the person in front of you, which is quite lovely for both of you. When you cross the level from threshold 2 to 3, so call that factual listening to empathic listening, your small vehicle, Sharma calls this the small vehicle, to the intelligence of your larger vehicle, larger, more powerful vehicle, which is, of course, your heart. You step into the other person's perspective. You might think, I don't agree, but I can see the perspective of where this person is coming from. I can imagine how this person sees the situation. And then finally, when we transition from the threshold 3 to 4, empathic listening to generative listening, this is the space where bringing something new into reality is possible. You listen to with openness. When we can observe our quality of listening and we can intentionally change it, our world literally changes. There's a whole lot more here. Let me know in the comments if you want to go deeper. When you head into that next holiday gathering, see if you can let some of the armor fall away. Show up and change how you're listening. See what happens. Lots of awesome possibility. Okay, that's it for Theory Thursday. Bye.